At the same time, the image of Saturn himself was paraded into their midst to rest upon the stairs of the Senate opposite the temple, to preside over the public feast. "What a waste of public funds," Catus muttered, and Bacchus turned upon him. "A waste? Why, it is the public who benefits from this very feast, and it pleases Saturn to see them dine and live gloriously as they did in his day." Catus turned back to look at the temple, and there he thought he spied a black-robed figure with a long staff going back into the temple. He would have questioned Bacchus about it, but he thought better of it, fearing the utterance of the words that came to his mind in that moment. "The people of Rome are pleased," Bacchus said. "Of course they are. When the Deus Festus declares 3 days of no work, while still earning wages, it's ridiculous." "Walk," Bacchus commanded, "and drink." He plunged ahead along the tables of Romans, young and old, foreign and not, as they ate and drank, slave and citizen, side by side. They saw entire families eating together, their children's faces lit by smiles that rarely made an appearance for all the hunger they experienced. Groups of friends huddled and joked and rolled dice. Couples with eyes for only each other luxuriated in a day together without work, and those with not a soul to speak with the days of their lives talked and laughed with the strangers beside them at those vast communal tables. "They do seem happy, don't they?" Catus said, a sliver of jealousy inching its way into his dried-up old heart. "There is more," Bacchus said, touching Catus's arm. Suddenly they were in the middle of the markets of Trajan, amid stalls piled high with all manner of foods to be purchased that day by Romans of every station, to be eaten over the 7 days of Saturnalia. There were mountains of nuts, chestnuts, walnuts, almonds, hazelnuts, and more, piled in mounds for all to see, to be eaten, and also gambled with, as was tradition. There were fruits of the season, apples, pears, sanguine oranges from the region around Baiae to the south, and the last of the season's plump and juicy figs. Amphorae of olives and wine from Etruria were popular with those going about their special marketing, as were joints of cured meat, sausages, and more. By far the most popular stalls were those specializing in suckling pigs for Saturnalia, more affordable to most than whole wild boar, peacocks, swans, and other things favored by the richer citizens of Rome. Garum, the fish sauce that would douse the meat upon any table in Rome, was at the top of every person's shopping list, be it from Iberia or Leptis Magna in Africa Proconsularis, and the row of sellers of this Roman favorite were busier now than any time of year. Catus watched as Bacchus led him through the maze of the market, moving from food and drink stalls to the textile sellers where multicolored cithæcia were hanging, tempting passers-by with a new set of clothing for the occasion to replace the regular tunic or toga. There were also leather and wool pilae, the conical hats that men wore during Saturnalia, and Catus noticed that most of the men around them were already wearing them, so many in fact that for a moment he felt as though he were in some faraway foreign market along the Silk Road. They then came to stalls where sigillaria were being sold, those traditional gifts of Saturnalia that were of no great expense but supremely popular among all classes, and between masters and slaves. Wax ceri were sold in bundles, both thick and thin, of tallow or beeswax. There were writing tablets and dice, knuckle bones, combs, and toothpicks. There were various types of hats and pipes, knives and axes, lamps, balls, and a few particular stalls in one area were busy with sweaty husbands trying to buy perfumes for their wives and mistresses. In another area, toys for children were being sold. Dolls, toy horses, balls, wooden swords, and much more to make any child cartwheel or shriek with a joyful "Io!" through the atrium of their domus.